Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
In 2002, after already having worked in the financial business for nearly 20 years, something very strange occurred in the financial world. In the years 2000, 2001, and 2002, the stock market dropped like a rock, and so did my confidence in my ability to manage my clients' money. Interesting, at that time of my career, the term I used to describe my way of investing during the late 90s and early 2000s is something I trademarked back then called the Money Manager Program. As the market was in a free fall, it was at that time I realized just how difficult it was to manage other people's money when the stock market wasn't cooperating, especially if those people were in the middle of retirement and depending on that money to be there for the long haul. Which is why in 2002, I began the long and difficult task of forging a different way of managing other people's money, a financial trail that I would blaze on my own by using much of my own time and money. A journey that would some 20 years later lead to what is truly, I feel, the most efficient planning process in the industry, something I refer to as the worry-free retirement. And during those 3 straight years of losses, the most important realization was this discovery. Contrary to what Wall Street might tell you, not all of us are hardwired for risk and uncertainty, which is why today the title of my talk is simply called Know Thyself. So, let's get started. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we help you understand how you're hardwired for your money in retirement, let me introduce 2 folks in the Worry-Free production studios who are certainly wired up to do this show each week. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, and Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, let's go back in time to the year 2002, a time that I was trying to expand and grow an investment platform I had created back in the mid-90s called the Money Manager Program, an investment program focusing on something called asset allocation, which means to create and monitor a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds based on a client's risk tolerance. This fee-based investment platform allowed my firm to charge fees on our clients' money in hopes that we might grow it. Today, 20 years later, this same form of compensation to us in the financial world hasn't really changed. We in the industry refer to the way we get paid to manage other people's money as something called assets under management, or AUM. In other words, whether you do better or do worse, we still get paid for our work, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. In what other industry would poor performance be rewarded? Take your car, for instance. Maybe you take it in to get it worked on, and they do not fix the problem, but expect you to pay for repairs that don't work. Would you be happy? Well, of course not. But not so in our industry. Give us $100,000, and let's say the annual AUM fee is 0.8%. That means on $100,000, we make $800 on your money. But what if the account goes down the next year to $80,000 and on paper, you've lost $20,000? Do we, as money managers, still get paid? Yep, we do. In fact, we still get our 0.8% on the $80,000 or $640. And as much as high fees are a huge issue and a drain on your retirement, one of the biggest mistakes I see savers make is not knowing their financial personality and investing in things that are way too risky and in some cases way too expensive. Which is why today I will share with you how to know which investments are right for you, and better know thyself before ever investing your money with any advisor. Good stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Our Live Well, Die Broke moment comes to us today from one of our current clients in Louisville, who we'll refer to as Bob, who after receiving a letter from me responded this way. He said, "Tony, I received your letter informing me that you had recently reviewed my retirement plan to tell me that things are on track. I wanted to thank you for doing that. It is an important ongoing service that you provide, and it's always good to hear from you anyway, Bob." Well, what Bob is referring to is the fifth step of our process, one that I feel really puts us apart from the rest of the pack, and it's what we call monitor your progress. And here's how we do that is by this tracking form we created that allows our staff to compare where you are right now with the original game plan that was constructed for you. Then the staff will alert me personally if there is anything amiss in the plan for any reason. If you don't have a game plan like this, let me say this, folks, nor getting the type of service of making sure you are on track, might I suggest getting a second opinion from us. To do so, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on the Let's Get Started, or of course, to get your free second opinion, you can just call the number on your screen. Okay, back to our theme of knowing thyself before ever investing money with an advisor. Let's begin by making sure you understand how we in this business of managing your money, what we call assets under management, or AUM, get paid. Now, at Tony Walker Financial, our fee to manage your money is 0.8% per year. The fee is only charged on the money we place with Charles Schwab. There is no AUM or fees charged by us on any annuities you purchase within what we call our split IRA concept. So let's kind of take a look at how this might play out. Let's say you've just got $300,000 in a 401k you want to roll over to us, and we make a determination to put $100,000 in the Charles Schwab bucket. That's your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank CDs, etc. And the other $200,000 is to go in a fixed indexed annuity, or it could be a fixed interest annuity. In this case, we're assuming there are no riders, so there's no fees. Remember, the commissions from the annuities are paid by the insurance companies to us, so there is no out-of-pocket cost. The only fee we're going to charge is over on that bucket, the $100,000, which would be 0.8% or $800 a year. And since the fee is charged quarterly or every 3 months, you're looking at $200 every 3 months. That's it. That's the fee that would be deducted from the Charles Schwab account. And we do all of that for you and provide a very nice report each quarter, which clearly tells you how you did in terms of the rate of return on your money and, of course, our fees. Everything is fully disclosed. Very simple, very easy to monitor. Oh, speaking of financial institutions and the goal of growing our AUM in this business, check out this recent filing with the SEC from a well-known investment firm and look how they did as opposed to how their clients did. Notice that in 2022, their overall assets dropped by 10%, which means, though, they made money on your money even when clients' accounts dropped. How did they do this? Because they brought in new revenue. Now, in 2022, the same thing happened at Tony Walker Financial. Our assets grew because we increased our business and brought in nearly $100 million. That was new money that came into Tony Walker Financial during 2022. So yes, we had a slight decrease in our AUM, but the new money that came in allowed us to collect more in fees. See how this works? So the question to ask yourself when turning over your money to any financial institution of any type is, what exactly are you getting for these fees? Well, at Tony Walker Financial, that 0.8% fee not only covers all the investments we'll be monitoring and everything we do in terms of selecting those investments for you, but look at all of the services you get from Tony Walker Financial at no additional out-of-pocket cost. We are going to calculate your required minimum distributions for you every year. We're also going to do Roth conversion calculations, should you be interested in that. Another thing we do is income plan analysis. For instance, I had a gentleman come in yesterday. He has been a client for years, but there's been some changes, so we're going to redo his income analysis absolutely free. This is a biggie. Tax planning analysis. Did you realize when you start taking money out of these tax-infested IRAs and 401ks, most of you don't understand how to take and calculate the taxes owed. We do all of the legwork for you. We do all the tax calculations, and we even do all the withholdings on those distributions for you, so the net check that hits your bank account hopefully is accurate and you're not going to owe a bunch of taxes at the end of the year. Again, a free service there. Investment risk analysis. Let's say you might have a 401k and you want us to take a look at the investments within the 401k. We'll do a free risk assessment for you on that. Meeting one-on-one with a fiduciary. Now, we're unusual at Tony Walker Financial. Besides myself, we have 3 highly trained salaried fiduciaries. Now, what these folks do is if I'm not available, or if you call and you want to go over your game plan, they call up the game plan. They're well trained in the art of retirement planning, and they can assist you. And again, it's unlimited. The amount of times you contact us, you'll never be charged a fee to meet with myself or one of our trained fiduciaries. This is a biggie. Meeting in person with the owner of the company. Now, I don't know about you folks, but if I'm going to meet with the owner of a company that's got this much of experience, just to have that person on board and know I can talk to the owner, whether it's to go over some complicated planning issues, things that just need to be discussed, or maybe a problem you're having, I welcome those types of contacts and look forward to meeting with people. Here's another one here. Talking about something that goes unattended all the time is beneficiary updates and changes. We stay on top of this like a hawk. Folks, I just met with 2 adult children of a client we had that just passed away. Well, all of that has to be updated in terms of the beneficiaries. We do all of that paperwork at no additional out-of-pocket cost. And finally, assisting with company paperwork in general. There's a lot of times you're going to have paperwork that's to be completed by companies, whether it's starting income or the change of beneficiaries. We will do that for you. And I'm sorry, Derek's motioning. There's one more really important one here. This is the assistance with the death claim process paperwork. So if one of our clients passes away, any and all investments we have with that client, we're going to help those beneficiaries fill out the paperwork if they need that help. So all of these things are additional services, and I pay my staff very well, folks. I have a lot of staff. The reason I do that is I want our clients taken care of and to know that there's not going to be additional fees, or if they're paying a fee to us, that we're not going to let the ball drop and not try to help them with things like this. So maybe that's you right now. You might be thinking, gosh, I'm paying all kinds of fees, Tony. First of all, I don't even know what they are. Second of all, I've never had an advisor or firm offer to do all this for me at no additional cost. Well, if that's you, why don't you do this right now? Why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, set up that free fiduciary phone call. Let's see if we can help. And if it warrants, myself or one of our trained fiduciaries will be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Okay, coming back, we're going to get the whiteboard out. This is really interesting stuff. What should a saver be invested in, and what percentages of assets should this saver possibly consider putting at risk? Good stuff coming your way. I'm going to have Aaron get the whiteboard out. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back.
Hi, Shannon Ross here with Tony Walker Financial. I'm the Investment Services Coordinator, and today I want to talk to you briefly about our split IRA concept. Split IRA concept was developed by Tony Walker and allows clients to use, enjoy, and protect their money at the least cost to them. by putting a portion in annuity products, which is protected from loss, and then putting another portion in a Charles Schwab brokerage account. And the brokerage account can be tailored to suit your specific situation and risk tolerance. And Tony believes in the philosophy, live well, die broke. So he builds the brokerage account into your game plan to use for any liquidity needs that you may have, which allows the annuity time to grow. To learn more about our split IRA concept and to see how our firm might be able to help you be more worry-free during retirement, please reach out to us on our website or give us a call. Thank you.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, our nation's debt spiraling out of control, and inflation running rampant, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. My name is Tony Walker, and for over 38 years, I've made it my life's mission to help savers worry less about money, and I want to help you too. To speak with me at no cost or obligation, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and we start off our segment with a TNT. This is a good one. Tony, I know you've always been a big proponent of annuities, and lately I'm starting to see some of the bigger investment companies offer annuities as well. Why is that, and has that always been the case? This was Steve out of Louisville. Well, actually, Steve, this has not been the case. In fact, years ago, I remember contacting a large financial institution that happened to be the custodian of a 401k plan of a client who wanted to roll that 401k over to Tony Walker Financial. Now, when we called the gentleman, he began to question the person as to where you're going to move the money. They couldn't believe they were moving the money from them. And when the person said, well, I'm going to put some of this money in an annuity, you would have thought the person on the other end of the phone with the big custodian would have fallen on the floor. In fact, this was pretty weird. At the close of the call, he sarcastically said, good luck with that annuity.
Whatever.
So here's the point, Steve. More and more of these big institutions are offering annuities because annuities are the only asset. Listen, the only asset that can guarantee lifetime income. So the next time you're watching an ad on TV or radio and they start mentioning guaranteed income, they're going to be talking about annuities. Okay. Let's kind of look at these years again, because at the first of the show, I referenced 2000 through 2002, 3 straight downturns in the market. I'm trying to manage money. I've got this program, and I'm realizing that, hey, my clients are scared to death, and I didn't know what to do. Well, what I realized is that most people are really not wired for this kind of risk. So having a background in psychology and a psychology degree from Western Kentucky University, I went back to the psychology department and hired a couple of professors to come up with what I think is ingenious, something called the 3 personalities of money. I've written a book about this. We created a website. You can go online and take this free test at 3personalities.com. Now, here's the thing. It's trying to help people understand how they're hardwired for money. So you're either going to be predominantly a saver personality, an investor, or speculator. So we are very focused at Tony Walker Financial. We only work with people who are what we call savers, people that are more concerned about the return of their money than on it. So what I would suggest you do, take this little free test. It only takes about 5 minutes. And if it says you're predominantly a saver and you don't feel like you're getting the service you need, or maybe taking way too much risk with your money, come talk to us. Okay, to close out this segment, speaking of risk, I'm going to go over to the whiteboard here. I've used this before. This is a great little tool to just help savers understand the different products they might have and which ones are the most risky, okay? So S stands for stocks, MF, mutual funds, VA would be variable annuities, and B would be bonds. So remember, these are on the growth side. However, anytime you hear the word growth, that means you're going to have to be willing to take some risk. So the farther out here you are, the more risky. The more you move in should be less risky. Now, the bonds are kind of difficult to understand because this past year, 2022, bonds plummeted in value. It was the first time that stocks and bonds had gone down that much at the same time. However, we still want to put bonds over here a little closer to the safety because a lot of bonds have held to maturity, are protected, government bonds are pretty safe, etc. But This is kind of how the growth/risk side works in terms of products. Now we come over to the safety side. Obviously, much less risk. Okay, sometimes there's absolutely no risk. C would be cash, which would be literally cash in your pocket. I don't think that's too risky unless you lose it or somebody conks you over the head and takes it from you, but cash is still king. CDs would be next. Now, the reason CDs might have a little bit of risk is because if you take the CD out prior to maturity, there's some penalties. Then you have FA, which stands for fixed annuities. These would be the interest type. Incidentally, we have fixed annuities right now. 5-year annuities, meaning you've got to put it in there for 5 years. If you get out prior to that, there's some penalties. That's why it kind of goes out a little farther away from the safety line. But are paying right now currently, as of the date of this recording, 5% guaranteed. And there are no fees, and you could even have the interest sent to you monthly. So that's a really good deal right now. And then finally, still very, very safe, but sometimes do not make money depending on the markets out there. FIA stands for fixed indexed annuities. So one of the questions I like to ask people is, if looking at all these investments, okay, from risky to safety, and let's just say we could only earn you 2% over here. That's it. I mean, I'm being very conservative. Long term, if all we could earn you is 2%, however, we could accomplish all your goals and objectives, right? Very little risk or no risk, accomplish all your retirement goals. The question is, how much, if any, would you put over here? And this is where we're all different. See, this is the kind of questions any advisor should be asking, because some people might say, wait a minute, Tony, if you're telling me I can do everything I want to do over here, why in the world would I take risk? Now, there's some people that might say, Tony, I'm not willing to just average 2 or 3% or whatever you're talking about. I want to get higher returns and I'm willing to take risk. Put this up full screen, Aaron. This is why we have the split IRA, folks. We know that not even the savers are hardwired exactly the same way. So we want you to have total flexibility and total use of your money, but also the ability to take a little more risk if you want to. So if you don't have anything like this, why don't you do this right now? Why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Let's talk by phone, set up that free fiduciary phone call, and then we will see if we can be of help to you in helping you be worry-free and working with somebody that will take an interest in you and your money. Well, what does the Bible have to say about knowing thyself? Some interesting words from Scripture and a spiritual gifts test that I took years ago that has really helped me in my practice. You stay tuned. Let me get a cup of coffee. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Earlier in the show, I mentioned a free quiz that psychology professors at my old alma mater, Western Kentucky University, helped me create. A 5-minute quiz to determine one's financial personality called the 3 Personalities of Money, which you can take for free, by the way, online at 3personalities.com. Now, besides this quiz, I've taken many a personality quiz for myself to be sure that I know thyself, which might explain why in June of 1991, shortly after becoming a follower of Jesus Christ, I stumbled across a free quiz to determine one's spiritual personality. Eager to learn how God had hardwired me for service, my test results revealed that my spiritual gift was like that of a man in the Bible by the name of Barnabas. Not knowing anything about this fellow Barnabas, I scoured the pages of Scripture to learn that Barnabas was an apostle closely aligned with the ministry of Paul. Barnabas, which actually means encourager, was often sent by Paul to various towns to encourage this new breed of Christians. In fact, he said to continue to abide in the Lord and rejoice in the grace of God. This thought of abiding or living in the Lord by the grace of God and how God hardwires us with His gifts is quite extraordinary and in some ways supernatural. Jesus reminds us that when we accept Him as Lord of our lives, we become supernaturally grafted into Him, just like a branch can be grafted into a vine and grow. By faith, we abide in Him and Him in us. In other words, we take on His Spirit. This thought of being supernaturally grafted into Christ is a remarkable thing to consider and should give us not only hope in who we are, but confidence in where we are going. As such, because we are grafted into Christ, we now have His Spirit dwelling within us, which leads right back to the uniqueness of how we are gifted in certain ways, as Paul describes in 1 Corinthians 12:4, where he says, "There are different kinds of gifts, but they are all given to believers by the same Spirit. There are different ways to serve, but they all come from the same Lord. And finally, there are different ways the Spirit works, but the same God is working in all these ways and in all people." And isn't that really all that matters when it comes to our walk with the Lord? That no matter what is happening in our lives or happening around us, we are to simply remain faithful to Him by abiding in His Spirit and using the gifts God has given us. As for me, I am so grateful to have been granted this gift of encouragement, as it truly brings me so much joy to be able to encourage savers who feel as though the financial world has left them behind. So, Tony, you might ask, what does this idea of me being hardwired in a certain way have to do with how you guys over there at Tony Walker Financial can help me worry less about money? Is there anything you can do to encourage me to go ahead and retire? Or if I'm already retired, encourage me as a client, as you mentioned earlier, to stay on track with my plans in retirement? Well, my friend, I'm certainly glad you asked. My name is Tony Walker, and if you're like a lot of people I meet who are discouraged by how much money you've lost in the stock market, or discouraged about the lack of attention you receive from the financial world, or maybe just fed up with being charged fees for services that aren't worth the fees being charged, might I suggest we do the following? Just talk. In fact, it's so easy to speak with me, the owner of the company, someone who has been in this business nearly 40 years, a fiduciary who has personally met in person with over 15,000 savers. All you got to do to take advantage of this free meeting with me is something we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. To log on to our website, just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and when you get there, click on the Let's Get Started. Or if you like to arrange your free phone call with me, just call the number on your screen. Once you contact us, we will set up this free phone call, and then if it warrants, I will be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or give us a call. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.